Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barban, and I want to talk about Jerry Jones' recent comments about signing Micah Parsons, or when he was questioned about signing Parsons, and he mentioned something. Oh, that's why we get the Cowboy shirt and the blue lights today, because we're talking Cowboys. But he mentioned something about signing Dak Prescott and said, well, I just made somebody the highest paid player and he was out for whatever it was, 8 games. I think he embellished. He said 2/3, but either way, he was out for half the year or enough of the year that's it. The year was done. As soon as Prescott got hurt, we knew the Cowboys weren't going anywhere. And he was the highest paid player in the entire NFL. So, and he just paid CeeDee Lamb too. So he's not shy about spending money, but he is aware that when he spends money, there's no guarantee that that player will even be on the field. And that's what he said. He said, signing him doesn't mean we'll have him, in reference to giving Parsons a huge contract. And then he pointed out, like, we signed Prescott, that doesn't mean we have him. Then it got me thinking, as a business owner, like I own a business, and I couldn't imagine spending money on an asset that randomly breaks for random lengths of time. And you can't buy a more durable asset. You can't just, well, I bought the best one, I know this one won't break down. That doesn't work with people. Like, people can get injured if they're on the cheapest contract or the most expensive contract. And that's pretty weird from a business owner's perspective, to be paying for assets at an increasingly high number, but the asset itself is no more durable, which wouldn't really happen in any other business, except for a business where the asset is human beings themselves. So it's reasonable that any owner is gun shy about signing big contracts with guaranteed money. And then, I mean, he's probably a little gun shy because it just happened with Prescott. Like, he's less than a year removed from a player being the highest paid player in the league who spent 8 games out and it ended their season. Obviously a key position too, QB. So another key position is edge. And I'd say Parsons is also versatile. He plays edge. He can go all over the place. But Parsons missed 4 games last year and maybe didn't finish. I don't know. He was out for 4 games, maybe didn't fully play a couple of more. So put yourself in Jerry Jones' shoes. He's just dumped a bunch of money on Prescott. Prescott missed half the season. Season was lost. He just dumped a bunch of money on CeeDee Lamb. Fine, he's healthy. And then Parsons wants to be the highest paid non-QB, and Parsons also missed multiple games last year. And he's, it just, what if the same thing happens? What if he pays him and Parsons gets hurt? There's not like a never ending well of money. And then some people can point to the Eagles and how the Eagles spend money and how they do all of those dummy void years at the end of the contracts, which I think is total bullshit. Like, that's completely circumventing the spirit of the collective bargaining agreement and the salary cap in the first place. It's not to pay Jalen Hurts now and for the next 35 years, like the Bobby Bonilla thing. Like, Bobby Bonilla is still getting paid. But now I get that for the Eagles, they're gambling the future for the now. And it seems to all be working. And the Eagles are banking on the salary cap going up and up, such that when all of those cap hits start coming due for all the contracts they've signed now, the cap will be so much higher, it won't be as painful. But all of that only worked for the Eagles because Jalen Hurts didn't get hurt. If Jalen Hurts got hurt, just like Prescott, there's no Super Bowl. There's no nothing. They don't look like head office geniuses. They just look like a bunch of guys who gambled, and it didn't come up their color. So far, the gamble on the Eagles is working. But if Hurts specifically gets hurt in this deal, the Eagles are done, and they have all of this void money that's gonna really hamstring them in the future. But all of that was gambled for the now. So far it's working. They've been to the Super Bowl twice and already won it once, and they look like they're going to go right back this year. There's no reason to think they're not. And they made a lot of smart choices, like a lot of smart draft picks that came through. And that defense is actually pretty cheap for how good it is. Well, regardless, it's just cheap in general in the league. Now, Carter and a few of those guys are coming to the end of their rookie contract, so they're going to need to get paid too. And part of how it works for the Eagles is they hit on draft picks, and they hit hard with some really, really good players. That's why they're getting away with such a cheap defense. The same thing's happening with the Rams. They're just basically reloading after Aaron Donald retired. their defensive line looks like the best in the league, the best young line in the league, and they're all in their rookie contracts anywhere in the first 4 years. But when those guys are all at the end of their rookie contract, the Rams can't just sign them all and make them all the highest paid non-QB side by side by side. Like, they're going to have to pay Verse if he's still healthy, but I don't know how they can keep him and Young and the other guys on that line. I think, what is it? Fisk. So there's just, it's, the Eagles gambled the future for the now, and it's working, but only because none of those major guys got hurt. If the Prescott didn't get hurt, we actually don't know what it would have happened last season. They probably would have been more competitive than they were. I know a lot of people don't think Prescott's that good, but at least the money spent would it be on the field. But in the Cowboys case, the highest paid player wasn't even on the field. So I don't understand why people, I don't see how people can't get that. It's that the owners are gun shy watching assets just fall. Like, as soon as Nick Bosa got paid, he got hurt. As soon as Brandon Ayuk got paid, he got hurt. Like, just this kind of happened. It's not like the money causes you to get hurt, but it can happen. And you can have all of this money allocated to people who aren't even on the field. So that's like you can't win like that. So maybe Jerry Jones is just still living in the shadow, in the recency of paying Prescott what he paid him and watching him sit on the bench with the torn hamstring. And that's a rough injury. Hamstrings are notoriously hard to heal. So we don't know if he's going to be 100% when he gets back on the field. It's just it's a bitch of a muscle, and the way that thing tore was kind of ugly. And that is notoriously a tough muscle to rehab back to 100%. So who knows? Maybe he's just looking at that saying, am I going to have a quarterback that's in and out of the lineup? And if I pay Parsons, how do I know he's going to stay healthy? Again, and it's a gamble. It's a gamble every owner takes, but they're the owner. They own the team. It's their decision as to what to do with that. And it's sometimes no matter how good the player is, maybe they're just not worth the money. Like, if they hit hard on a couple of young draft picks, it doesn't matter if your older guys or the guys with getting paid the top salary go out. But that's so rare. It's so rare to just have the next guy up who's as good as the guy demanding the money. So I don't know. I don't know what an owner's really supposed to do with that. But having the highest paid QB and the highest paid non-QB and one of the highest paid receivers, like, at some point you can't have that much money wrapped up in just 3 positions. And especially after a bunch of their really good offensive linemen either retired or just not on the team anymore, which was a strength of this team. So I could see how he's just reluctant, or I can see where the comment comes from. It obviously causes a lot of drama for Dallas. It's good. I mean, I'm here talking about it's off season, nothing else to talk about, but it's a reasonable concern that it's just hard to commit to that much money, seeing the last guy you committed that much money to spend half the season not playing. And the guy you're about to commit that money to also was out for 4 or 5 games. So I don't know. It's players don't know how to generate wealth. They know how to get paid, but they don't know how to generate wealth. And there's no reason for them to know how to generate wealth. And I don't mean getting paid, generating wealth, building a company that then makes more and more money. The owners know that's how they got to the point where they can own an NFL team. They're involved in whatever businesses they're in and grew them to the point where in the billions of dollars. And that's how whatever they're doing, it's clear that they've generated wealth. Players don't do that. They were genetically gifted. Yes, they worked hard. But they were lucky enough to be born in a country that will pay them millions and millions of dollars to play a sport that they're really good at. And I know that they work at it. And then they just collect a paycheck. That's not generating wealth. That's trading. They're still hourly workers. They're just still trading hours for dollars. But owners don't do that. Owners build a system that just grows and grows and grows if it works. And obviously anybody that owns an NFL team, it worked. So they're aware of the profit and loss. An owner, when I say they understand balance sheets, they understand expenses and revenue, they understand all of that stuff. Players, I don't think typically understand it, nor should they, nor they don't need to. I mean, most of them are in their 20s when they're trying to have this negotiation, and their entire life has been what? High school, college, NFL. They've never owned a business. They've never run a business. They've never had to pay employees. They've never had to invest in assets, especially assets like this that just break sometimes. So they don't know what it feels like to be on that side. And there's a lot of money to go around. The NFL is super successful, but the NFL is not successful because the players have made it that way. They're the thing we watch, but the owners collectively have grown this thing to the behemoth that it is. And then the players are benefiting from that growth. But they're in no, if you left it up to the players, they'd bankrupt this thing in 2 years, because they would just be, how much can you give me? How much can you give me? There's no proof that any of them would have a clue how to allocate money. And then if you put the player on the other side and ask him what he should do for the contract for the guy who just got hurt, they'll probably have the same attitude. They're not going to say, oh, just pay him as much as you can and pay the next guy as much as he can. Like, you can't run a business that way. So their players are, and under the advice of their agents, are trying to get as much as they can. And owners are trying to not spend so much money irresponsibly that they end up stuck like the Browns, dumping a bunch of money on the wrong guy. And now they're basically in QB purgatory for a decade. So, I mean, this is just going to be the push-pull between owners and players. But make no mistake, the players do not know how to generate wealth, and this league isn't wealthy because of their economic or fiscal outlook. It's because the owners collectively, with the commissioner, understood how to grow a brand and make it enormous and make it bigger and bigger and bigger and grow the pie so that all the players make more money. And I would always side with the owners on how to make money, not the players. So anyways, that's all I had to say for now. It just seemed like it's just people really land hard on one side of this argument or the other. And I don't see how people cannot see that it's the owners that made this thing as profitable as it is. It's not the players. The players are the beneficiaries of the owners being able to grow this thing so big. And they deserve the money they get. But in these particular circumstances, it's totally reasonable that the owner's just not sure about a guaranteed deal when his last guy just spent half the season out on the biggest contract in the league. So anyways, that's all I got for that one. Let me know what you think in the comments. So anyways, that's your Saturday versus Sunday podcast.